Oh, what? Maybe you should be stripped naked and run out for making a mockery of this court. Excuse me? Mr. Matt on guard did not take his costume off after the award ceremony. He even testified that he took a nap while sitting wearing his costume. Is this not correct? Ah, yeah, he did say something like that, didn't he? That's what I thought. Worth it, I don't care. That was hilarious. Let's try that one more time, shall we, Wright? Mr. Wright, the court would like to hear your thoughts. Do-do-do-do-do. It was a spare! Mr. On Guard did not take his costume off during the break period. In that case, the costume we are talking about was a spare one. What? Then, are you saying that on the night of the murder, there were 2 Nickel Samurai costumes at the Gatewater Hotel? Indeed, indeed. Yes, that is what I am saying. And how do you explain the costume that was inside the guitar case? It would mean that the victim himself had planned to bring this spare to the ceremony. Do-do-do-do-do-do. But why? The victim, Mr. Kurita, was the German ninja. Why would he secretly bring the Nickel Samurai spare costume with him? I don't know, man. What could be the reason behind such a peculiar act? Ah, so that's what he intended. Or what? What are you mumbling to yourself about now? Have you just been rambling all this time without any sense of inner monologue? Huh? No, I just... Mr. Wright, please explain yourself. Why do you think the victim had the Nickel Samurai spare costume? Phoenix, are you sure you can explain this one? Think carefully before you answer. And then answer with gusto. I believe in you. Alright, this is what I think. The reason the victim brought the Nickel Samurai spare costume to the hotel was... Oh, he was gonna... That was it, he was gonna confess something. What is this? On the night of the murder, after the stage show, the Nickel Samurai was going to hold a special press conference. A press conference? Yes, the Nickel Samurai was supposed to confess something at this conference. I heard about this as well. For once, you're not making something up, right? But what struck me as strange was that Mr. On Guard himself said he had no idea he was supposed to be holding a press conference that night. But how can that be? The way I see it, that can mean only one thing: the conference was set up by none other than the victim, Mr. Wonka Reader himself. The victim? Yes. The spare Nickel Samurai costume was prepared for that very conference. Mr. Kurita was going to hold the press conference as the Nickel Samurai. He was going to dress up as a Nickel Samurai and hold a conference? But why would the victim do such a thing? That's something I don't quite know yet. However, what I am concerned with right now is what he intended to reveal at that conference. The Nickel Samurai was going to confess something. And by confess, I'd wager he was going to reveal something about himself. Which means that Wonka Reader, posing as a Nickel Samurai, was going to speak about Matt On Guard. Yeah, I guess that is what it would mean. But if that's the case, that's not a confession, that's public disclosure. Okay. Miss Andrews? I can see why you were pros at what you do. Pardon me? Yes, just as you say, the press conference was set up by one. Oh! Miss Andrews, please offer us an explanation for this. I was the one he asked to help set it up. And the person who prepared the second costume for him. That was also me. You? One had bet everything on the German Ninja this year. And if he lost the Grand Prix, he was going to make sure Matt was going down with him. That's what he thought anyway. He was going to ruin him? Huh? It looked like somehow one had in his hands a secret so powerful that it would destroy Matt's acting career had it been revealed. What? Oh damn. Well, what do you know about... and do you know what the secret of Mr. On Guard's is, Miss Andrews? She probably does. That's something only one knew. I don't know what it is. I see. I've probably been coming off as quite suspicious to everyone, but that's to be expected. I've been trying to protect Matt, after all. Protect Mr. Ongard? And yet again another strange bit of truth comes to light, it seems. Miss Andrews, if you could, please tell us the truth about your behaviour. Yes, Your Honour. I understand. Huh, I don't. Protecting Matt. From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. It's a very bizarre thing to say. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. He didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course, the button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him. This does account for everything. Well, I am the logical type. We're finally seeing her true self. She's more nervous than a scared rabbit. If there are no objections, I feel I can pass a verdict based on this testimony. Now then, Mr. Wright, if you please. Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this, and turn her logic upside down. Yay! So, from the moment she saw the body, she knew it was Matt. That just seems odd. Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you? Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. Oof. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things. 3 things? A motive, decisive evidence. I don't know what the other would be. Opportunity? Or chance to commit it? A motive? Oh. An opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. If you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix. They didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember. May I continue now? Oh, so that was actually pointless. The button and the knife. You could hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Then, what about the button? The button? It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and the murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the German ninja's costume. You're talking about this button, correct? That button was found in the pleats of Matt's hakama, isn't that correct? I would think that makes it very decisive evidence. Looks like you were outfoxed again, Mr. Wright. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing. Please fix your testimony. I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat. Thank goodness Mia can still look at me. With an icy stare, yes. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony. That button was torn off of Juan during his fight with Matt. They didn't fight. He was strangled. Yeah, strangled with a scarf, then stabbed with a knife. So there was no fight. He died. He was already dead when he was stabbed. This is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states that the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf. Strangulation? The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died. And what does that mean? Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it. Oh god. Which would mean that it was ripped off of the costume. When? After the knife was stabbed into the victim. Exactly. Which means... Oh, it could have actually just been used as a way of framing. It is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle. Because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. Oh, snap.
Bum 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 baba.
That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body. Damn. Pretty grisly, to be fair. Whoa. What's the meaning of this, right? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change? Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve? What purpose? We now know this button was not torn off during the fight. So the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it? Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it? Memento, crime on guard. There we go. There's only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. On Guard. There is no way anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right, Mr. On Guard was set up. By the real killer, of course. Oh ho! We're getting somewhere. And the real murderer is... Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real murderer? Real killer, then? Finally. I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point. Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end. The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. On Guard is... the witness. I almost did Celeste Impacts. Miss Adrian Andrews, I choose you! You are Mr. Karida's killer. What? That's another pair of glasses we've smashed. Damn. Order, order, order. Mr. Wright, it's a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge? Any evidence? All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews. How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me. I can't, can I? Would you care to test me? Then what about this knife? The knife was used to stab the victim after he'd already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you. Oh my god, that's 3 pairs. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama? This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died. The only people who could have done so was the person who found his body, or the killer. However, if Mr. On Guard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. 4 pairs? She's gonna be running out of glasses soon. Sheesh. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. On Guard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap, which is you yet again, Miss Andrews. I see. What about the empty guitar case? There's also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. Oh. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It would only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews. No, But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. And it was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right. That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that yes, indeed, she was a classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. Oh, I got 5 pairs. And to top it all off, there is this photo. Yeah, where it doesn't quite fit. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. On Guard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're all also kind of short in stature, are you not? But please, stop. Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time. Miss Andrews? I refuse to testify. What was that? There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me. Oh. Well, yes. You are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination, by allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony can cause damage to themselves. What? Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot. Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. Ungard's room... Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed, understood? Alright. That's it. That's when Franziska planted this idea into her head. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad. Did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there is still one thing you haven't yet done, or haven't done. Something I haven't done? Oh my god, Edgeworth. Don't laugh. What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What is so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realise this as well, Your Honour. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless. What? Everything you have proven is circumstantial. Circumstantial? Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof. Proof that Miss Andrews did in fact harbour a wish to murder Mr. Corrida. Okay. Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? I believe this may lead to me incriminating myself, so I will abstain from answering. But Miss Andrews, if you do that, it would be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? Maybe so or maybe not. There is nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence. No, she's taking that defiant attitude again. Mia, what should we do? Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation. Great. I think we have reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defence's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid definitive proof. But that's not true. In this situation, there is only one thing this court can do, and that is to declare a recess. Recess? I request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter, and at tomorrow's trial... Tomorrow? But I can't. We don't have a tomorrow. If we don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please wait, Your Honour. That's not necessary. The trial, please continue the trial. What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he? That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya... Oh. But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Or the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue. Mr. Edgeworth, what are you... It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation was something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there is one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice. Yes, and... I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they are shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice. So my actions were unusual, but I've already... Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect. Testify? Your Honour, I would like to request that the witness testify again. So what happened when she first discovered the victim's body? Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness. Ah! So Edgeworth has caught on, I suppose. I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know. The court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please. She probably doesn't want to, but whatever. That glass of juice, I didn't really pour it for myself. I was surprised when I walked into the room and saw it in that messy state. And Juan, he was sitting slumped over and tired looking in the corner. When I saw him sitting like that, the thought that he was dead didn't cross my mind. To be honest, I thought he had just fainted or something. So I went to pour him some juice. When I realised that he was dead, that's when I knocked the flower vase over. So you poured that glass of juice for the victim. Why didn't you say so in your earlier testimony? I didn't think I needed to include something so trivial. Phoenix, please be careful here. If you can't find anything wrong with this testimony, then there's nothing left. I know. Edgeworth, what the heck is going on in that brain of yours? Now then, Mr. Wright, you may begin your cross-examination. Again! Bum 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 bum. When I found the body... The only thing I could think is that how would she think he was just tired? Or whatever, because he had a knife sticking out of his body. Yeah, when I saw him sitting like that, thought he was dead didn't cross her mind. You sure? I mean, look at this. So you honestly didn't think he was dead when you found him? No, not at all. Even though this is what you saw when you discovered the body? Yeah, a knife sticking out of him. What is the meaning of this? Isn't it obvious, Your Honor? There's a knife sticking straight out of Mr. Karida's chest. Anyone who saw this scene would have immediately thought that here was a dead man. Well, you see... I doubt a single person in the world would mistake this for someone who fainted, and then so nonchalantly go pour something to drink. Your point is, Miss Andrews, your testimony just now, it was all one giant lie. Oh, that's 6 pairs. And your lie has proven one thing very clearly. That you are the real killer. Damn. No! I like how it goes from caps to smaller letters. Damn. It looks like the defense has somehow brought the ugly truth to light. The defendant, Mr. Matt Engard, is not guilty after all. But that's impossible. You're wrong. Miss Andrews, try to have some composure. It wasn't me. It wasn't me, I tell you. It was Matt, I swear it. He's the one who killed Juan. But you were the one who refused to testify, and your reason for not doing so was that you might end up incriminating yourself. That's because... Miss Andrews, I will give you one last chance. What exactly are you hiding that may incriminate you? I refuse to testify. Oh my god. Then there is no need for this court to continue any further. Mr. Matt Engard's innocence has been clearly demonstrated. Is it over? Have we found the truth at last? What's wrong, Phoenix? Usually the real killer confesses his or her guilt. And now that I think about it, this is the first time someone hasn't. Now then, I would like to hand down my verdict for Mr. Matt Engard. Oh. Your Honor, the prosecution feels that it would be premature to pass down a verdict at this time. What? The reason is quite simple. This witness has yet to speak the absolute real truth. The absolute real truth. What are you? Witness, don't you understand yet? Huh? I don't know who planted this silly idea in your head, but as long as you protect yourself through your silence, Matt Engard will go free, and in his place, you will become the guilty party. That's a lie. I don't believe you. What? I was told if I spoke then it would be all over, and Matt would never be declared guilty. What in the world is she talking about? Has she lost it? I can't speak about it, I'm too scared. It's Franziska von Karma. Don't you remember Phoenix? Miss Andrews lives by gripping tightly onto the words of another. because she doesn't have the strength to believe in herself. Then, right now, Miss Andrews is... Yesterday she was tossed a lifesaver by Miss von Karma. Don't say a word, no matter what happens. If you do, Matt on guard will be acquitted. Miss Andrews undyingly believes in those words right now and is clinging onto them. Then what should we do? This is the first time I've ever come across anything like this. But Miss Andrews has to be the killer, right? All we have to do now is get our not guilty. That is my only priority. It wasn't me. I'm begging you. Please believe me. I didn't kill Juan. Help, please. Someone help me. Oh, damn. Mr. Wright. Yes, Your Honor? The court can't continue on like this. Therefore, I'd like to hear what you intend to do. What I intend to do? What am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to say? Right, I suggest you think very carefully about this. Think about what this witness did, and what she did not do. Think about who is the real mastermind behind this crime. Who's the real mastermind? Isn't that obvious? There's no one else it could be except the woman crying over there, right? Come now, what will you do? What kind of man are you, Mr. Phoenix Wright? Force her to testify. I have to win a complete acquittal today. There's no way around that. But I can't bring myself to do it like this. Not when she's making a face like that. Miss Andrews, I would like to know what you are really hiding. Mr. Wright, are you sure you know what you're doing? Sure, Mr. Ongard would get an acquittal, but in his place you would be found guilty. Is this how you really want this trial to end? Be quiet, how dare you? You're trying to trick me. Oh my god. Ugh. That's enough. I commend you for trying, Mr. Edgeworth. However, it's clear that the defence's theory is the truth. You're wrong. Such a shame. I had hoped things wouldn't come to this. However... What is it, Mr. Edgeworth? Miss Andrews, since you absolutely refuse to testify, it falls on my shoulders to disclose this to the court. Stop. Ooh, Mr. Edgeworth. This witness... How should I put this? She has an illness. What? And because of this illness, she has tried to commit suicide in the past. Stop. Please stop. No matter how much you want to hide it, it's no use. I have the evidence right here. That's the second part of the suicide report. The attempted suicide report. What will you do now, witness? You know what I am about to do, don't you? I will now reveal to the court the true nature of the pitiful woman known as Adrian Andrews. The secret of her codependent nature. Having other people know about it scares her more than anything else in the world. Please stop. I beg you. If people find out, I'll... If you're going to say you would choose death, that is of no concern to me. Ooh, this is dirty. Edgeworth, how can you be so cold? However, before you die, I will pull the truth from your breathing lips. No matter what I have to do. Jesus. So will you tell the court yourself, or shall I? Either is fine with me. I'll talk, but please, help me. Oh dear. I feel really sorry for her. Nothing matters anymore. Oh god, this testimony just seems wrong. My crime. When I first saw him, I really thought he had fainted. Honest. When I realized he was dead, that was when I formulated my plan. Once I made sure there was no one in the hallway, I made a dash back to Matt's room. And then, I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife, and ripped off the button. Just when I finished and was returning to Matt's room, I had a bit of an inconvenience. And that's why I ended up using the Nickel Samurai costume. Okay. Stab the body with the knife, but why would you do that? Isn't it obvious? To pin the blame on a certain person. A certain cowardly man. Who? What do you mean by all of this? It might take this court a little while to understand, but... This is the truth. The real killer is Matt. That scumbag of a man. I'll never forgive him. He's trying to escape his guilt again, just like last time. Last time? So Miss Andrews stabbed the victim Wonka Reader in the chest with the knife. However, she didn't do it with murder in mind. She did it with the intent of framing Matt Engard for the murder. And this is her crime. What? How is this possible? I mean, wasn't Miss Andrews supposed to be the real murderer? Mr. Wright, please get over your shock and commence the cross-examination. I mean, I don't see... like, there's nothing I could even... notice. I guess the only thing I can do is press everything. But you could tell from the state the room was in that there must have been a fight. Are you telling the truth when you say you did not know he was dead? He had a scarf tied around his neck, but that scarf is a part of the Diamond Ninja costume, so I didn't think anything about it was strange. His head was also tilted down a bit, so I couldn't see his face that well. That's why I thought I'd wake him up, and went to pour the juice. What is this plan you had? I knew right away the murderer was Matt. I knew because 1, he was going to expose Matt's weakest weak point to the world. So Matt did this to stop 1 and silence him for good. That's when I thought, I should forge some evidence and pin this crime on Matt. So the forged pieces of evidence were the knife and the button. The first thing that came to mind was to plant the knife. That was so you could get the knife, correct? The knife Matt used at dinner had his fingerprints all over it. I thought if I used that, then the police would certainly turn their eyes toward him. Matt was napping with his costume on at the time. I flipped him, took the knife, and returned to the scene of the crime. Then I stabbed Juan's dead body with the knife and ripped off the button. So, you were the one to stab the victim with that knife. It gives me goosebumps to think about it now. What a horrible thing I did. But at the time I couldn't control my own body. It moved on its own. Then when I stabbed Juan's dead body, I suddenly realised something. If I used the button somehow, I could make Matt look even more suspect. So you thought to rip one of the buttons off and then plant it in Mr. Engard's Karma. Yes, that's what I had planned to do. But things never go that smoothly, do they? Had a bit of an inconvenience. An inconvenience? There was a woman with a camera at the ready, loitering in the hallway. I'm willing to bet my spikes it was Lotta. There was also a woman with a ray gun at the ready, pacing back and forth. That's Miss Oldback for ya. I'd already been caught and made into a big scoop for a certain weekly tabloid once, so I couldn't very well go out looking like myself and get caught again. Oh. And that's why I ended up using the samurai costume. Well, nickel samurai costume. Oh dear. You were the one who prepared that costume, weren't you? Yes, I took it from Global Studios. I also put it into Juan's guitar case the day before the award ceremony. You did this in preparation for the press conference, correct? Yes, Juan wanted to wear that costume and hold a press conference in it. He was going to disclose Matt's big secret there. But what is this secret? That I don't know. Anyway, I thought that if I were to leave Juan's room in the Nickel Samurai costume, then people would think that Matt was the real murderer. I was very careful not to leave any fingerprints when I opened the guitar case. I absolutely did not want anyone to know about the costume. I think we've heard enough. So, after that, you went back to Mr. Engard's room and planted the button. Into Matt's Karma? Yes. After that, I folded up the costume I was wearing and put it into a bag. Then I snuck it out of the hotel and got rid of it. My word. What does all this mean? Mr. Edgeworth, is it? The real criminal is Matt Engard. Yesterday, that woman prosecutor sat me down for a talk. Franziska, huh? She said that I should, under no circumstances, confess to what I had done. That if I just kept quiet, then Matt would be found guilty for sure. I had no choice but to believe in her words. Lots of dots. What this witness has done is clearly unlawful. However, as long as her testimony stands, we can be certain she is not the real killer. But wait, Your Honour. The defence still... oh dear. Right. It's pointless. At this point in time, it's not possible to indict Miss Andrews on anything. Yes, exactly. There isn't a single piece of evidence that points to her as the murderer. The cross-examination of the witness is over, and so is today's trial. You couldn't establish that the witness was the culprit. Please let it go, Mr. Wright. But... Mr. Edgeworth, please place Miss Andrews under arrest for further questioning. Understood, Your Honour. The prosecution will arrange for her detention immediately. That's all. Court is adjourned for today. Oh no. Oh no. Oh wow. That's a really interesting sprite. It's one we've never seen before, I don't think. Today's trial, it's over. And I didn't win an acquittal. Witness, would you mind if I asked you something? Edgeworth. What is it? Before you leave court today, I wondered if I might look at one thing. The card in your hand. It's had my interest for quite some time now. What exactly is it? Oh, this? Mr. Wright also asked me about this. Although I didn't remember at the time, you asked me about it, Mr. Wright. I remember just now. I found this in the room on that day. The room? That day? Yes. Is it on the table? I found this card when I discovered Juan's body. It was lying there right next to him. You found that card next to the victim's body. I suppose I must have unconsciously slipped it into my pocket. But it's not as if this card has any relevance to Juan's murder, right? Yeah, I guess not. But it's still a strange card, if you ask me. But as far as a clue to this case, I don't see why. Hold it. Oh! Witness, that card! Give it to me! Hurry! Edgeworth? You have any idea what you have stupidly yet inadvertently done? This... I can't believe you hid this from me all this time. I didn't mean to. What is this all about? I've never seen such an emotional Edgeworth in my entire life. That card. What in the world is it? What does it mean? We're gonna find out? Oh, you fucking serious? Oh, dick. What an arse. Oh, that was awful. I thought we would have actually found out, but no. Guess not. Dick bag. Whatever. Either way, that is going to be the end of this session. I've wrapped up the trial, so next session is going to be the investigation, and then it'll be the final session. Maybe. I'm not entirely sure how the final trial will go, and how long it'll be. If it's 2 hours, then it's not too bad. But yeah, that's going to be the end of this session. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed. And until next time, take care.